Hello viewers, welcome to our lecture series on Indian ethos in management. This lecture is under special segment, and for symbolic expression we have with us Ms. Manisha. Today we will talk about self-management, and this is going to be part 2 of our lectures on the same topic. This is basically looking at the Western models of self-development and what is beyond that. We all know about the Western models of self-development, but what is beyond that, that is what we have to discuss. And in the previous lecture of mine, I told you about 7 models of self-development. All those 7 models I will be discussing with you in today's lecture of mine, starting with model 1, which talks about 3 levels of self. But before that, we should know what is the paradigm shift. During recent years, we are witnessing a shift from psychoanalysis to psycho-spiritual analysis, which is giving a reflection of a shift towards transcendental psychology. And we all know that while developing any healing mechanism, we are basically relying on spiritual therapy as well as psycho-spiritual therapy nowadays. And that is why discussing these models becomes more relevant for us, because these models are increasingly being used into psycho-spiritual therapies, or even in the corporate behavior, corporate enterprises, these techniques are increasingly being adopted. So let us start with the first model, where I will be telling you about the 3 levels of self. It is said that in Western theorems or theories, there are 3 levels of thinking or talking. We say that id, ego and superego when we talk about transaction analysis, when we talk about interpersonal behavior. There are 3 levels of consciousness when we talk about 3 levels of self in Indian methodology or in Indian model of management. They are named as ego, echo and cosmic. Accordingly, there are 3 types of people. We classify people on the basis of their level of consciousness. One can be ego conscious, one can be echo conscious, and one can be cosmo conscious. Depending on your level of consciousness, you will actually show your behavior, that would reflect into your behavior. But when the circle of consciousness expands, an individual moves from ego states to echo state and eventually to the cosmic state. So it is the level of consciousness which gives a reflection of your behavior, which is being seen in the reflection of your behavior, whether you are into the ego state or you are into the echo state, or you have moved to the next level, that is called cosmic state. If you find a person to be in ego state, you will find that the individual is purely driven by self-interest. The person will talk about his or her own targets, his or her own achievements, their struggle, their success, nothing else. Beyond that, they don't discuss, or beyond that, they don't even think. So if you find a person who is purely driven by his self-interest, his self-success or self-talk, it means the person is in ego state. But if you find a person who is driven by enlightened self-interest, you can say that the person is now in echo state, cause you have now crossed the first level, you are in the second level, and you talk about the enlightened self-interest, where you become very logical, or you start thinking about yourself and also your family members and colleagues. But in cosmic state, the person is driven by lok sangrah, or you can say that you go beyond your self-interest, you start talking about collective interest, or you can say enlightened collective interest. So in cosmic state, an individual becomes bodhisattva and acquires Buddhahood, you can say. That you now start thinking about the public at large, the society at large, the nation at large, which is actually the real reflection of self-development. And unless we understand this process of self-development, we cannot manage people, we cannot manage individuals, we cannot go for self-management. So, we should know that these are three different stages, starting from your ego state to echo state and eventually at cosmic state. So, the ultimate target of an individual is to reach to the level of the cosmic state, where you start talking about, or you at least start thinking about lok sangrah, or what you call as enlightened collective interest. People at the ego level display high grabbing orientation. They feel that I need to grab a chance, I want a chance, I want to prove myself, I wish to achieve this. 5 years down the line, this is my target. 10 years down the line, this is my target. So, if you find somebody who is very much ambitious for his self development, you should be very confirmed that the person is at the ego level, which is not wrong, that is okay, but it is a journey, and this is a beginning point. You have started your journey, but people at echo and cosmic level, they basically reflect high level of giving orientation. They feel that whatever I am earning, that I need to give, that I need to distribute, that I need to spread among people at large or society at large. So, you are having that feeling that we are receiving everything from the society and we have to give it back to the society. So, it is time for giving it back to the society. So, that orientation differs. So, there are two extremes, you can say. On one hand, we have grabbing orientation, and on the other you have giving orientation. So, from grabbing to giving, it is a journey of an individual, and this is what this model says, that if you look at the development of a person, if a person is at the ego level, he or she will talk about grabbing only, grabbing opportunity only, grabbing chances only. Whereas, if you find a person who has reached at the cosmic level, they would talk about giving orientation, they would talk about doing something for the society. And at ego level, giving taking ratio is very low, while at eco level it is very high, and at cosmic level it is very, very high. So, if you find the highest degree of giving taking ratio, then you should be confirmed that the person is basically right now the person is working at cosmic level, and that is why this giving taking ratio is very, very high. Otherwise, it could have become very low, where we talk about taking and taking only. So, this was the first model. Now, we will talk about the second model, which classifies, which tells us about the three different types of struggles which a human being goes through, which we are bearing with. There are three levels of struggles, namely struggle for existence. First, we struggle for our existence, then we struggle for our betterment or development, and eventually we start struggling for values. So, if you are under the influence of Darwin, the discipline of psychology was also influenced by the idea of struggle for existence, where we talk about the struggle for existence, that survival of the best, survival of the fittest we were talking about. So, as a student, we have been listening this, that only the best can survive or only the fittest can survive, which means you are talking about the struggle. Struggle for what? Struggle for existence, that you would only exist once you are basically required in that process, otherwise your existence is questionable. So, it means when we talk about survival of the fittest or survival of the best, we are under the influence of that Darwin's theory of selection. Whereas, when we talk about Maslow liberated psychology from this influence and introduced another dimension of psychology, which is called as humanistic psychology, and it reflects the idea of struggle for betterment, that we struggle for the betterment. Wherever we are standing right now, we want to go at a better place, we want to achieve a better level, and for that we struggle. That was the second level, where a person struggles for the betterment. And The transcendental psychology, or what you call as Vedantic psychology, it basically gives us another level, shows us another level of struggle, which is called struggle for values. So this Vedantic psychology is rooted in the idea of struggle for values. So a point where you struggle for your values, the value system. So the three types of struggles, they are giving us a reflection of your self interest, the way you are taking up your struggle, whether you are struggling for only your existence, or you are struggling for something else, or you are struggling for betterment, or eventually you are struggling for the values. So these are three types of struggles which are reflected by another model. This is called model number 2. Now the third model is the three levels of existence. It is showing us the three different levels of existence, and it says that the nature teaches us that there are three processes governing our life. One is competition, another is cooperation, and third one is symbiosis. As an acronym, you can call them CCS, that is competition, cooperation, and symbiosis. These three processes represent the three levels of existence. We can consider them as three different levels of existence, where either we compete or we cooperate, or we go for symbiosis, we go for synergizing. So there are three mindsets according to these three levels of existence. You would find three different mindsets. One is the mindset of competition, where we feel that competition is bound to create excellence. We have this assumption that we should compete to find the best. And then second one is mindset of cooperation, where we feel that my mindset should be to cooperate with others, to help others. And eventually the third one is mindset of symbiosis, which is the ultimate one. Competition brings the best out of human beings, and it also brings out the worst. We should accept that competition is bound to create excellence, but when the competition becomes cutthroat, what it does, it also brings out the worst of a human being. You can find the reflection of the worst in terms of jealousy, in terms of conspiracy, in terms of strategizing to get whatever you wish at any cost. At times this kind of attitude or aptitude is also reflected in human behavior. So our emphasis should be on positive competition. We should avoid negative competition. We should not deny to the competition, because competition is there to create excellence. Competition is bound to create excellence, but it should bring the best out of human beings. We should not promote that kind of competition which brings out the worst from human beings. Appropriate norms are required to prevent the worst side of competition. If you are willing to create a society, you are willing to create your workplace of that attitude where competition is the order of the day, then of course appropriate norms are required to prevent worst side of competition. In general, competition is transactional in nature, and it promotes a transactional view of life. All human endeavors, they are achieved through cooperation, which is reflected in teamwork. Together they win. Together everyone achieves the most. That is at times is the explanation for the word team. Together everyone achieves more, or the most, people say. So all life forms, they are interdependent, and the need for appreciating this symbiotic relationships among human beings is very much needed. Cooperation is transformational in nature, and it promotes cooperation based view of life. If you cooperate with everyone, you witness a transformation in your life, and you lead a life which is based on cooperation. You help others and others help you. While transactional psychology is largely rooted in competition view of nature or competitive view of nature. Transformational psychology, if we witness, it is rooted in cooperation view of nature. And of course, transcendental gives you shows you another way, another level, where it is rooted in symbiotic view of nature. Transcendental psychology is rooted in symbiotic view of nature, which is very much fulfilling. Self evolution of an individual also passes through these three stages, which is called as stage of competition, stage of cooperation, and stage of symbiosis. And some individuals may not develop beyond the first stage, even with the advancement of age. I may cross that age limit, but I could not change the stage in terms of my journey. Uh, I stick to competition only. I could not reach to the level of cooperation and forget about stage of symbiosis. So, there can be a possibility that some individuals may not develop beyond the first stage, even with the advancement of their age. So, this is the way the self is evolved. This is the way a person evolves in terms of passing through these different stages. The fourth model talks about three stages of mind. The three stages of mind, according to your merits, or what you call qualities or gunas, there are three states of mind. One is called as tamasic state of mind, another is rajasic state of mind, and third one is the sattvic state of mind. So, our mind is having three states. Either you would find tamasic state of mind, or rajasic, or sattvic, or at times combination of all three, or combination of any two. So, according to the circumstances, at times you may find tamasic state of mind of a person, at times you find rajasic only, and at times you find sattvic only, or even any permutation or combination of these three. These three states of mind, they reflect the transactional, transformational, and transcendental attitudes to life. So, my dear learners, you must be understanding here that when we talk about the attitudes of life, or in any of the models, we are basically basing the entire discussion on three important aspects. One is transactional, second one is transformational, and third one is transcendental. So, only that is why you find three states of mind, you find three levels of struggle, three stages of struggle. So, these models, all of them, they are giving us a classification of three only. Present day problems of alienation, terrorism, they are because of dominance of tamasic state of mind. You become very aggressive, and it is leading to generation of high levels of negative energy, which is also called as negergy, and it eventually reduces the happiness of people. If you find everyone to be of that tamasic state of mind, it means you will reflect anguish, you will reflect the shouting, you may shout, you may struggle to survive. You find yourself, you want yourself to be heard at any cost, and that is why the negative energy reduces the happiness of all people. Because if I am surrounded with a person who is of tamasic state of mind, then of course I am going to get affected with the behavior of that person. So, a mindset change from tamas to sattva is needed to create a transformation from negative energy to positive energy, or what you call as negergy to synergy. So, from negative energy to synergy, this is the transformation we want. And it may be included that it may be understood here that this guna theory also identifies four types of persons. It can be T type, that is tamasic type. It can be RT types, that is rajasic and tamasic types. It can be rajasic and sattvic types, and it can be sattvic types only. This is what I was telling you at the very outset, that you may find the prominence of either one feature only, one state only, or there can be a combination. So, broadly we find these 4 types of persons, that is T type, RT type, RS types and S types. So, these classifications broadly correspond to a typology of persons derived from the theory X, Y and Z of motivation. We all know theory X, theory Y and theory Z. If you talk about theory X, it means I'm reflecting authoritarian and with negative mentalities, the person who is very authoritative and mentality is negative, you are negative somehow in terms of this understanding, you feel that the person will not work, your subordinate will not work. This is what is your mindset if you are filled with that tamas in your mental state. If we look at X and X, it means authoritarian with positive benevolent approach. You are authoritarian, but with some kind of benevolence or positive, with positive approach or benevolent approach. It can be both. If it is Y, it means you are democratic type, and of course the Z is talking about the team and trusting types, that you trust others, you believe in teamwork, you believe in team spirit. So, these are these basically there is a great hope for transformation of organizations, society and nations from a negative energy state to synergistic state. So, if we somehow lead to to a stage where we become positive, where we find that we behave with greater amount of sattva or sattvic state of mind, of course the result are going to be very positive. So, it is basically your mental state which will decide your interpersonal relationships. My dear learners, now here I would tell you that why I was telling you that if we follow the Indian style of or the Eastern awakening idea, here we talk about stopping this state of conflict, that we should dissolve this conflict rather than resolve the conflicts. So, in place of solving problems, if a person is if a person is behaving in a mental state which is filled of sattva, which is full of sattva, then there is no point you witnessing the state of a conflict. So, it means you can develop a self in such a way that there is no situation of conflict which arises, which comes to you. So, you will not witness any conflict if you somehow develop that stage. Now, coming to the next model, which is model number 5, which talks about 3 views of life. Now, this 3 views of life is also giving us a great amount of learning. There are essentially 3 views of life. One is economistic view, where you behave like an economic man. Second one is humanist materialist view of life, where you are humanist but also materialistic. And third one is transcendentalist holistic, where you are into transcendental, you take life, you view life in terms of a holistic picture or transcendental view you have. This I would discuss in the next lecture of mine, but these 3 view of life, they would reflect into your behavior. It is the view, the way you look at life, it is that is going to decide your behavior. So, my dear learners, this is why we talk about the Eastern awakening idea as an important component for managing the self and the self development. I hope you must have understood today's lecture of mine. Thank you so much.